So we're taking a look at 3 new Sigma lenses that have just come out for Sony E-mount and for L-mount as well. We've got the 17mm f4 lens here, which as you can see is super small. We've got a 50mm f2 lens here, and then we've got a 23mm lens f1.4. Now this is for APS-C cameras and it's available in Fujifilm X-mount as well. So it's giving you a full frame equivalent of about 35mm, which is actually super versatile. I mean, that's an incredibly useful focal length to have, and with an f1.4 aperture, there's a lot that you can do with something like that. These two are actually very similar to hold, to use. They feel and look very, very similar. And then this one's just a little bit different because of course it's for those crop sensor cameras. Let's start off by looking at these 2 lenses and then we'll get onto this one as well. Now the 17mm, as you can see, it's very, very small. It's very light. It fits incredibly well on the front of something like a Sony A7 III, which is what I was using it with. An f4 aperture is absolutely fine for a wide angle lens like this. I would usually stop down a little bit anyway to something like f4, f5.6, f8, something like that. And I think it just works really well. It allows them to keep this lens nice and small and lightweight, which is very clearly a big part of the design philosophy behind this. Now, of course, you've got an aperture ring on this lens, as you do with the 50mm as well, which is always nice to see. I just like that. Otherwise, it's very sleek in the way it actually operates. You've just got the aperture ring, the AF/MF focus switch, and of course the focus ring as well, which I've got to say, as much as I don't really use that kind of thing, it is incredibly nicely weighted. I mean, that is just lovely. If you were going to use this for, let's say, astrophotography, I know f4 is not ideal for that, but I've still used it in the past and got some nice results, which I'm pretty pleased with. So if you were going to use it for something like that, that is a lovely weight to that manual focus ring. Now, image quality wise, of course, 17mm is nice and wide, great for landscapes, great for architectural stuff, loads of different things. You can do street photography with this. There's loads of interesting ways that you can use a nice wide lens like this, and it looks great. You've got 9 elements in 8 groups. You've got 7 diaphragm blades. It's got a 12cm minimum focus distance as well, so you can get in nice and close. And while bokeh and outer focus areas are not really going to be something you're going to be going for with this, the image quality does look really, really nice. It's nice and sharp, it's nice and clear, the colors look good, the contrast looks good. It's kind of everything I would want from a lens like this, and of course it's all wrapped up in this really small, lightweight package. This is the kind of lens that is just extremely easy to take out on any shoot. It's so small, it's just going to fit in your bag, it's never going to cause you a problem, and it's such a useful one to have if you need a wide angle lens. Now the 50mm is very similar in its design philosophy. The actual look of it is very similar, the feel of it very similar as well. You've got the aperture ring on here. Of course, this goes all the way to f2 as a nice fast aperture, so that's great for kind of portraits, for those outer focus areas, for getting some of that bokeh. You've got the MF/AF switch here as well, and again, that is pretty much it, apart from the focus ring, which again is nicely weighted. It's also not particularly big, so this will fit nicely in a bag, and if you were taking both of these out, you're really not going to feel it. They're very, very small, very light. I love it, and it feels so nice in the hands as well. I think this must be a metal construction because it feels very, very solid. And of course, it performs very well in terms of image quality as well, which is the most important thing when it comes to a lens. Now, f2 isn't the fastest aperture out there, but it's still absolutely fast enough to get some really nice portraits, to get some nice outer focus areas, some lovely bokeh. It's still perfectly capable of delivering all of that sort of stuff. And to be honest with you, when I use a 50mm f1.8, I often stop down to f2, f2.8, or even more so than that, just to make sure I'm getting enough detail. And really the difference between f1.8 and f2 is probably not going to cause you any problems. The actual optical quality of this is lovely. Those nice, sharp images. Again, colors look great. Things like contrast look great. You've got 11 elements here in 9 groups, along with 9 diaphragm blades as well. So you get a nice smooth bokeh with a lens like this. The autofocus also seems to work really well. Now, I've been shooting primarily with a Sony A7 III, which is not the newest camera, but it certainly has things like the eye autofocus and all that sort of stuff. This seems to keep up no problem at all. This seems to be absolutely fine for that sort of stuff. So if you buy this primarily for portraits or street photography or whatever it might be like that, I think you can be very, very happy knowing that the autofocus is not going to be a problem at all. It feels like a really nice option actually, whether you're an enthusiast, a semi-pro, a professional. I can imagine taking this to do corporate headshots, absolutely. I can imagine taking this to do even events or maybe even weddings as well. But as a hobbyist, it's nice and small, it's not going to break the bank, and it's going to allow you to get some really nice images, and again, without having to carry an incredibly huge amount of kit around, because of course, it's very nice and small. Now we've also got the 23mm here, f1.4 aperture, and this is obviously for crop sensor cameras. So this is for Sony cameras like the a6600, and of course Fujifilm X-mount as well. So you could use this with something like the X-T5 or the X-H2. I think that would be a lovely, lovely pairing. Now this gives you the full frame equivalent of around 35mm, which means it's an incredibly good kind of all-rounder, versatile focal length. It's giving you that classic 35mm feel, and with an f1.4 aperture, it kind of opens up a lot of opportunities for what you could do with this lens. Now obviously portraiture, landscape, street photography, events are going to be great on this. It's a nice feel to it as well, nice big manual focus ring here, and otherwise that is the sole control actually on the lens, which means it is very nice and sleek. And again, it's not massive at all, and in fact it's very light as well. And when you consider this as an f1.4 lens, I think that's pretty decent in terms of size and weight. Again, the image quality in this seems to be absolutely up to the standard that you would expect. Nice and sharp, it looks great. That f1.4 aperture is beautiful, allowing you to get some really nice out of focus areas as well. And of course, that's gonna be great for low light. So whether you're shooting later into the day, after sunset, maybe even into kind of twilight, maybe even into night sky sort of stuff, this is gonna be a great option for that kind of stuff, really allowing a lot of light in to hit that sensor. I don't really have anything particularly negative to say about any of these lenses. I love the kind of design philosophy behind the size, the weight, the styling of it. They're very kind of sleek and straightforward. They don't have all kinds of frills on them. They're just very well designed and made. And then they perform really nicely optically as well, it's just very impressive. I like it. I'm a big fan of Sigma lenses. We actually did some reviews recently on things like the 50mm f1.4 art lens, and they're just beautiful lenses, but even the slightly more accessible lenses, in terms of price point, are just really nice. I mean, something like this, the 17mm, the 50mm, they're just really lovely lenses to use, and there's something that I would happily add to my kind of kit of lenses, absolutely. Now you can check out all of these by following the links down in the description. You can go see all the spec, all the pricing, all that kind of fun stuff. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video as well. I will of course see you in the next video, but until then, as always, thanks for watching.